for those that aren't familiar with your service, I mean, I know it as the company that delivers ugly fruits and vegetables. Explain how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So in a nutshell, we're a grocery delivery service. The sort of catch, if you will, is that we work on procuring the misfits of the food supply chain. So funny shaped, funny looking produce, things that are too big, too small to fit properly on a grocery store shelf. For the pantry staple items, things that are mislabeled, mispackaged, nothing that impacts the quality, but traditional sort of food retailers are not stocking these items. So we procure that, we aggregate it at our warehouse, and we ship it out directly to consumers at probably 30 to 40% discounts compared to regular retail prices.
So what has this crisis and pandemic and change of life done to your business in terms of the numbers?
Yeah, I hate overusing the word unprecedented, but that's kind of the only adjective that comes to mind. Over the past month and a half or so, we've seen new customer demand that's been roughly 4x on a daily and weekly basis what it was prior to that. So if we were acquiring 500 new customers back in February, January, now we're acquiring 2,000 new customers a day. With our existing customer base, we're seeing kind of a doubling down behavior where they're ordering boxes more frequently. They're ordering more in those boxes. They're upgrading to larger boxes. So essentially, we are roughly 18 months ahead of where we were projected to be currently.
So are you able to meet that demand? And Abhi, do you have the access to funding that you need to be able to ramp it up?
Yeah, it's been, our operations and fulfillment teams have been working literally 24/7 around the clock over the past few weeks just to sort of scale our fulfillment operations side. So we've tripled the number of warehouse associates over the past 3 weeks, onboarded them, trained them, and importantly, worked on doing so in a safe way. We're an essential business. We operate in the state of New Jersey. Just making sure that we can sort of take all the right COVID-19 precautions has also been an interesting challenge. But we're now at a point where we've scaled our fulfillment channels. It's actually interesting that we're talking today because today is actually the first day that we've opened up our wait list and we're formally accepting new customers. But yeah, we're finally at a point now where we can kind of keep up with demand. I'd say on your funding point, we were fortunate enough to sort of close a round of financing before all this craziness happened, and so we're also in a pretty good capital position.
It's great news for you, Abhi, despite all the pain. I mean, from a business standpoint, and that's great to see. But I wonder, are you leery of the giants, of the Walmarts and Amazons that have so much ammunition right now? What would it take for you to give in to a consolidation offer from one of the giants?
Yeah, good question. So, I essentially view kind of the past month and a half as providing sort of a step function change in the grocery delivery industry more broadly. I think with a lot of folks stuck at home, and I know Sarah kind of mentioned that statistic before, roughly 40% of new customers signing up. This is the first online grocery experience that they've ever had, the first time they've even tried any of these services. So I think broadly, people are just more open to a lot of these other options. And so whereas previously people only thought about a couple of the large grocery delivery players, so Walmart and Amazon, now it's kind of allowed the opportunity for some of the little guys like us to become a little bit more mainstream and actually have somewhat of a competitive advantage in that regard. On consolidation, like I've sort of told everyone so far on our team, we're sort of taking each day and each week as it comes. So, we'll see what happens. We feel like we're in a good position right now. We have, a lot of customer demand and the ops to fulfill it. So we'll sort of see what happens next.
Abhi, while you were speaking, we were showing a graphic for the fact that you've raised wages $3 an hour, I think, for your employees and hired another 100 of them. What are you seeing in the labor market in terms of your ability to get the workers you need? And what is the hourly rate now that you're paying?
Yeah, definitely. So we ended up sort of adding that $3 an hour to everyone's base rate probably a month and a half ago. And the 100 number is actually a little bit stale. We've added about 350 or 400 new employees now over the past few weeks. I'd say that It's trying times out there in the labor market from the worker perspective. I think you guys have probably seen those unemployment numbers in the high teens, almost 20% now. So we put up job postings for open warehouse associate positions. Those job postings get thousands of applications within a couple days. So there's a lot of demand there. Our sort of challenge and opportunity has been to make sure we can kind of interview those people properly, make sure all the right safety precautions are taken in our fulfillment center. We have about 750 people working there right now across 3 shifts. So we're making sure that we have enough, PPE for them. We're making sure that we can do social distancing properly, all of that stuff.
So, Abhi, just thinking as a consumer here, I mean, is there enough food, produce rejects out there for you to scale this in a really meaningful way? And how do you make sure you're not delivering people moldy blueberries or other produce that would be rejected because it just is no good?
Yep, both excellent questions. So, when we started, our thesis was always there's way more inefficiency and food waste out there in the food supply chain than people realize. And I think that's been the case to date. I think the COVID-19 pandemic crisis over the past month and a half has simply, multiplied that problem, I would say. Now that schools are closed, now that the vast majority of restaurants are closed, we're seeing that the supply that previously would have been routed to the food service industry or to the education industry, that food supply has nowhere to go. And I'm sure a lot of folks have seen the news articles out there about food being thrown out and wasted because there's no end demand for it today, or that demand has shrunk a lot. I think platforms like us are able to sort of step in and reroute that supply in a way that previously hadn't been possible. So we're seeing even more supply out there now, even more opportunities on the supply side than we had a month and a half ago or 2 months ago. And I think that's going to continue to be the case. And then on your second point, quality, it's a huge point of opportunity for us and kind of something we're working on. We have a very large quality control team that essentially inspects everything that comes in. And so one thing that we tell our grower partners often, our supply partners, is we're after the misfit food. We're not after the bad food. So everything is still human consumable. Everything is quality checked before it comes into our warehouse and before it leaves as well.